A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Darragh continues to bring strong and blustery winds and some heavy rain that will clear its way eastwards through the rest of today. But there are still weather warnings in force as we go into the start of Sunday. That squeeze in the isobars across that western flank of that area of low pressure is what's bringing us those strong winds as we head through the rest of Sunday, with amber wind warnings in force through until Saturday evening. Winds then down a notch as we go through Saturday night into the start of Sunday, but we could still see gusts here of 50 to 60, perhaps 70 miles an hour, and plenty of heavy rain continuing across eastern parts of England, so we could see some localised flooding here. Temperatures, it will be quite a chilly night, although likely staying above zero, although feeling a very chilly and cold start to the day on Sunday with those northerly winds. Be quite a cloudy and damp start to the day across southern and eastern parts of England through Sunday morning. That rain turning persistent in places, but perhaps a bit of a brighter start across parts of southwest England and Wales. Some sunshine in places, and for Northern Ireland too, a bit of a brighter start to the day. Western parts of Scotland seeing those brighter skies as well to start on Sunday morning, but eastern Scotland continuing to stay quite cloudy with plenty of blustery showers around. These perhaps turning to sleet and snow over any high ground. That rain across eastern parts of England does continue through much of the day on Sunday, turning heavy in places and quite persistent as well. So we could see some spray on the roads, some further localised flooding through Sunday afternoon. But the further north and the further west you are, those winds gradually starting to ease and turning a bit brighter with some sunshine through the afternoon. So a bit of a more pleasant day here. Temperatures still remaining around average across the board, although feeling really quite chilly again with that northerly wind, particularly across the southeast, where those winds will still be quite strong. That rain continues across the southeast of England through Sunday evening, although gradually starts to fizzle out into the early hours of Monday morning, but plenty of clear skies across the north and the west, so a chilly start to the day on Monday. There is some sunshine on the horizon though. High pressure does start to build through next week, but that does mean some colder temperatures are on the way.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Alex Armstrong and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show...
Sadiq Khan is the worst night since the Blitz.
The FA is a woke political disaster.
DEI needs to die as white men are banned from our security services.
The only change this country needs is a change of government.
Reject fascist Trump. Embrace the EU.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Well, welcome to the Saturday 5 and a very good evening, my fellow storm-battered Brits and seekers of common sense. We storm through the headlines on this show with all the grace of a barn door caught in Darragh's winds. I've been tossed about more times than a Greg Wallace innuendo tonight, biting the cold, the endless train delays, and left wetter than the Conservative Party's benches. But I have made it into the studio, so, you know, we're there, and it's going to be brilliant. Make no doubts about it. Winds of 90 miles per hour were recorded on the Welsh coast, which actually, coincidentally, my friends, was also the speed news listeners reached for their little remotes this week to dodge Sir Keir Starmer's 50th reset speech. At this rate, this government has had more comebacks than the Sugar Babes and more reruns than Dave. Meanwhile, Ed Miliband's green delusions took a hit as Starmer quietly watered them down, and rightly so, because if you look outside, those 20 million quid bird-bothering turbines, they aren't spinning a watt of electricity, despite Darragh's deluge. The whole plan to power Britain relies on Goldilocks greenery. Not too windy, not too calm, but just right. Here's the thing, Miliband. Nature doesn't care about your eco-zealotry. So never mind the gas from a cow's backside. What about the hot air spewing out of the mouths of politicians? That's the real crisis we need to tackle in Britain. Now, who better to do it than our panel? Will Kingston, our no-nonsense Aussie, here to cut through the bluster like a boomerang of common sense. Dr. Renee, like a surgeon of sanity, ready to prescribe a dose of reality to the woke brigade. Alex Armstrong, the lion who roars against the madness with wit sharper than a wind turbine's blade. And last but not least, Kai Wilshaw, whose views are so progressive and useless, I had to check he wasn't powered by wind energy himself. So buckle up, my friends, the Saturday 5, where opinions are sharp, the nonsense is blown away, and the laughs are at full power. Let's get started. You know the drill by now. Each host outlines their argument about a chosen topic, then we all pile in. And of course, we want your views as well. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay. Don't forget your questions as well for Ask the 5. No topics are off limits. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with Joe Casper.
Thanks, Darren. It's 3 minutes past 6. I'm Joe Casper in the GB Newsroom. Well, in the last few moments, Prince William has just arrived in Paris. He was greeted by French President Emmanuel Macron ahead of a grand reopening ceremony of the Notre-Dame Cathedral. The Prince was delayed by Storm Darragh. He was meant to meet Donald Trump ahead of the meeting, but will now meet him after the meeting. Also, he was also meant to meet Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States. He will now meet the President. He will now meet her at a side chat during the ceremony. That's been confirmed by Kensington Palace in the last few moments. Donald Trump, the president-elect, and Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, have held trilateral talks with Mr. Macron on the steps of the Elysee Palace in Paris. All three posed for pictures and shook hands. The meeting came ahead of that ceremony that is going on right now. Volodymyr Zelensky said that he had a good and productive trilateral meeting with the pair. That's just in as well. Before that, French President Mr Macron greeted Mr Trump at the same place on the steps of the Elysee Palace. The pair also posed for pictures there. Mr Trump and Mr Macron addressed reporters moments later, and here's what the US President-elect had to say.
Very great honour. And we had a great relationship, as everyone knows. We accomplished a lot together, and the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people. And we respect them and we love them. Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well. Yeah. And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
The ceremony, hosted by Mr Macron, features the opening of the cathedral's huge doors, the reawakening of its organ, and the first Mass since its restoration. Our reporter, Catherine Forster, sent us this report.
A huge day for France as Notre-Dame Cathedral reopens 5.5 years after that horrific fire. 50 heads of state and dignitaries, 1,500 people invited to the opening later on this afternoon.
West Ham footballer Mikel Antonio has been involved in a road traffic accident in Essex, the Premier League club has said. In the last few minutes, the club confirmed the striker is in a stable condition. In a statement, it said Mikel is conscious and communicating and is currently under close supervision at a central London hospital. At this difficult time, we kindly ask everyone to respect the privacy of Mikel and his family. The club will make no further comment this evening, but will issue a further update in due course. An investigation is underway after a man died when a tree fell onto his van during Storm Darragh in Lancashire. Emergency services were called at around 9 a.m. this morning near to Lancashire Police Headquarters where the incident happened. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His family have been informed and are being supported by a specially trained officer. A major incident has been declared in parts of Wales because of disruption from Storm Darragh. Dyfed Powys Police said it was continuing to experience high volumes of calls about fallen trees and poor driving conditions. The storm, which hit the UK overnight, has brought heavy rain and winds of up to 93 miles an hour, causing widespread disruption. Counties across South and North West Wales have been hit the hardest, with some areas facing severe weather conditions, including flooding. In Northern Ireland, authorities have warned people to undertake only essential travel. Trains and some bus services were suspended and nearly 50,000 customers left without power as high winds caused severe damage to the electricity network. The Met Office has lifted the rare red warning, while yellow and amber alerts are still in place across affected regions. The weather has impacted travel, with rail service disrupted, bridges and roads closed. Passengers at some of the UK's biggest airports have also described harrowing landings as air traffic restrictions are in place. Our Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire, is at Glasgow Airport for us.
As Storm Darragh continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
Those are your latest GB News headlines. I'm Joe Casper. More from me in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello lads and lasses, it's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes and I can promise that you're in for a very lively show. Let's crack on with tonight's first debate. I am going to abuse privilege of the chair and kick us off. My friends, a round of applause for MI5, MI6 and GCHQ holding the fort while Britain's borders are leakier than a cheap colander from Poundland. Hundreds of thousands of fighting-age men wandering about this country with sudden onset amnesia. No names, no backstory, no passports. They're more lost than sleepy Joe Biden at an international summit. But don't get too comfy just yet in your safety and security, because MI5's top dog, Ken McCallum, he's just done a podcast where he says they're making uncomfortable choices as a vital service. What's the translation there? What does that mean? They're shelving counter-terrorism efforts because chasing down Russians, setting fire to the place and assassinating dissidents is the new day job. Jolly good, eh? So with their plate piled higher than a list of Keir Starmer manifesto breaches, MI5, they're juggling threats from Russia to China to Iran and teenagers radicalised by dodgy imams and downloadable PDFs from the dark web. You'd think now, right now, would be the best time to hire the sharpest tools in the shed for our security services, wouldn't you? Nah. Instead, they're turning away white kids from security service internships. That's right. If you're a white lad dreaming of sipping martinis as the next 007, oh, I'm sorry, matey. No room for you in Walkford-on-Thames. We're binning national security for the sacred cow of diversity, equity and inclusion. Or, as I prefer, deliberately excluding Indigenous. The only DEI worth its salt to me, my friends. Deport every illegal. And why are we doing this? To hit some daft diversity quotas, while threats to Britain are, according to MI5, grander and more sophisticated than ever. When competence takes a backseat to ticking woke boxes, we're not just playing with fire, we're handing the enemy right now the lighter, the petrol, and a signed thank you note. DEI isn't just daft. It's downright dangerous. Well, I couldn't believe this story, frankly, when I read it. I thought it had been signed off by him, by Kai. I did. I thought you had been in charge of this policy. I can't imagine anything more deliberately destructive than saying that because of your immutable characteristics, and frankly racist as well, you cannot be part of Britain's security apparatus.
The really sad thing is, I actually sometimes think we're past peak woke. I think of the Cass review, I think of Trump, and I go, you know what, some of the silliness has passed. And then you see stuff like this and you realise that it is so deeply embedded in our institutions that this is a fight we're going to have for a long, long time.
I mean, I hate the idea of reverse racism. I mean, everyone should get a job based on their merit and merit only. It shouldn't matter what skin colour you are, what race you are, what gender you are. You should just get it based on your merit and merit only. I don't know why, when so many big companies just announced, I think JD Whiskey has just announced, Jack Daniels has just announced they're dropping DEI in their company because it's actually making their sales go down and their performance poorer. Why MI5 is doing this now when everyone else seems to be rejecting it?
Yeah.
It's discriminatory. It's reverse discrimination.
Talking to Darragh about this earlier, and I looked at some proper data in the States where actually doing this in air traffic control has related in more air traffic control incidences over the last 5 years since it all started than they've ever had before, because they've got people who are not quite so able, but they tick the right boxes in the job. So what do we go for? Keeping people safe? Or just giving the right people...
It's the Douglas Murray line, eventually the bridges are going to fall down. You know, this has practical, real-world consequences.
Exactly. I mean, Kai, surely you're not mad enough to accept that this is worthwhile and has merit?
I can't believe that all of you are making such a mountain out of a molehill. This is one internship. There was another internship.
It's our national security.
There was another internship. An internship. Interns aren't looking after our national security, mate.
Well,
that's never been the case. What this is about counteracting communities that haven't been traditionally part of these services and trying to get more of them in. And actually, following your logic, Darren, if it's these communities, non-white communities, that are posing a threat to Britain at the minute, then we need more of them in the security services to counteract that threat. So it's a good thing, this internship. But there was another internship in the summer that invited working-class white people to attend. But and you wouldn't be calling that bad,
Well,
would you?
hang on. Why, if you follow that logic, right, why are you suggesting that you have a sort of a bigotry of weak, small-willed ideas for black and minority ethnic people when you're suggesting they can't compete with white people?
I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Why
no,
ban
I'm not.
them? Why
no, I'm
ban
not.
them from
but
the
I'm saying that
application
if those groups have been traditionally unrepresented in the services, then you have to counteract that. You have to do something. You have to do something to solve that problem.
You're looking at the root cause of the problem. Then you're just trying to solve the problem further down the chain. You need to look at what is it about supposed white people getting all these jobs? Why are they getting them? You need to solve the problem at the root cause.
MI5's not going to solve that.
Not at the top of the river where you're going to make mistakes.
MI5's not going to solve that.
But they are part of the government.
Let me say again. Let me say again, interns aren't looking after national security. That's
all
a fact.
I would say to that is, look, if Muslims were overrepresented, for example, within the security services, and I said we should ban Muslims from applying for the jobs, you would be the first person to call me a racist.
No, but if there was an internship specifically targeted to white working class men, for instance, then that would be a good thing, and that would counteract that difference. You see, it's all about the balance.
OK, we've got to move on now because one of our viewers has just commented, I've just lost it, but they said, oh, good, I've got my Willie on the show tonight. And speaking of which, it's time to let Willie unleash upon the nation.
Thank you, Darren. It has been revealed that Sadiq Khan will be honoured with a knighthood in the Keir Starmer's next New Year's honours list. One wonders what he will be knighted for. Will it be services for early bedtime? So we're told that London nightlife, if we have some charts, I believe, coming up now, is fading faster than anywhere else in the country. Will he be knighted for services for dangerous tube trips, in which crime on the tube is up 56% under his watch? Will he be knighted for gridlock? Traffic delays are up 26% under his watch. Will he be knighted for services to violent crime? Again, up 30% under his watch. On every objective measure, London is a city which is worse under Sadiq Khan than when he entered the mayorship in 2016. But it's the subjective measure as well. Everyone who lives in London can feel that this is a city in decline, whether or not they choose to admit it. Now, admittedly, some things are out of Sadiq Khan's control. Mass migration and economic growth play a big part, although admittedly he cheers on both of those things with bells on. But on everything that he has control over, he has made this city worse. What message does this send? If ultimately this message is that outcomes don't matter. Results don't matter if you're a civil servant. What matters is that if you have a series of high-status beliefs and then you shout them from the top of the biggest soapbox, you will be lauded by a small clique amongst the elite. This is shameful. Sadiq Khan should be shamed. He should not be honoured in this way. This is a very sad day for London. It's a very sad day for the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, Kai, you were calling on His Majesty the King to block this knighthood, weren't you?
You'd love that, wouldn't
even
you?
I can acknowledge that Sadiq Khan has been an utter turd upon the nation.
If he was that bad, then why does he keep getting elected by Londoners?
Yeah.
Okay. Look,
We could do a whole show on
Council
that.
house building, the highest rate since the 70s. Fears frozen, 1,300 new police on the streets to counteract that violent crime, 16,000 homeless off the streets. But he's doing something, and I think this is about damn time that he got knighted, and I'm thrilled.
I'm a born and bred Londoner. I've lived here pretty much my entire... I know Dr. Renee, absolutely the same, lived here much longer than me, seen it change a lot more. I have seen this city change many times, and during the early 2000s and 2010s, while Boris Johnson was still mayor, actually, the city was growing. We had capital, we had investment, we were having lots of new buildings put up, and we had a good nightlife. We had lots of things going for it. It was safe. It was a safe place to be. It was respected around the world. Since Sadiq Khan has become mayor, this city has gone to the dogs. Crime is through the roof. People can't take their phones out on the streets anymore. And what is he doing? He's renaming the Overground. Rather than fixing the broken... He's the Police and Crime Commissioner for London, let's not forget. Rather than investing that money, those 12 million or whatever it was he spent on renaming the Overground for whatever bloody reason, he's investing it in this nonsense.
He's renamed one of the lines to the suffragette line. I said, I tell you what, He wants to call it the suffering line, because that's what he's doing to this nation.
But Alex is spot on. This is the thing that really annoys people. If he was just useless, that would be one thing. But it's the fact that he doesn't seem to care about what really matters to Londoners and instead puts money towards these flights of fancy, woke, nonsense campaigns.
Right, we've only got a minute left.
Yeah,
so...
I just think that what this just goes to show is that the honours list is a complete disgrace.
Yeah.
It is gifts for the friends and the boys, and it should be scrapped immediately.
No, whatever you think, and I know that it's not perfect and there are things that definitely need to be improved. I'm sure Sadiq Khan is the first person to admit that. But
I'm not.
But his record of public service, the years he's put into trying to improve things...
I'll never forget.
But fair play on him. I think he deserves this.
During the BLM madness that happened that year, and he put up on display the fist of BLM during the fireworks of that New Year's Eve, when we had just had lockdown and we were going through it as a nation, and he decided that divisive act was what our nation needed at that time. I think he is a political pygmy, and I do not in any way think that he is worthy of such merit.
Hear, hear.
OK, right, now it's time for our Great British Giveaway and your chance to become our biggest ever winner with an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. It's an amazing sum of money and it could make your new year your best year. Here's all the details you need for a chance to make it yours.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
What are you waiting for? You really could be our biggest winner so far. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Cash giveaway. Well, still to come tonight, my friends. Are you sick of political messages in sport? I know I am. You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Love a bit of baking and share some hot tips. We're delighted to be joined by our baking extraordinaire, Matty Edgell, who won Great British Bake Off last year. Woo! Welcome. Congratulations as well. I'm sure you're sick of being congratulated.
And there's Matty reminder.
No, you like all the glory.
Yeah.
What was it like winning the Great British Bake Off? What's last year been like for you?
Winning it was I was not expecting to win. At any point until they said my name.
You're a
so
very
it was
humble
a nice
guy.
surprise. No, I was just
really
in touch with reality. Yeah, no, I wasn't.
Was it quite a close race throughout then?
Yeah, I considered myself the underdog throughout. I think the first week I turned around after the showstopper and kind of saw how good everyone was, and then looked at mine and thought, how have I got here? And that kind of theme followed through.
But then that surely like an underdog.
Yeah, it did.
Actually, I'm going to get better throughout this.
Yeah, I think it made me kind of like really tune into the feedback that they was giving me and trying to embed that throughout. So that's probably why.
Could you feel yourself improving as the series went on?
Definitely, and I think also like kind of simultaneously my confidence improved at the same time, and then that like little bit of belief in myself probably helped out as well.
What was your strength? Biscuits, cake, bread?
I think cake's my strength. I think cake, typically if you start baking, that's probably where you start, isn't it? So that was what I knew most.
How did you start baking?
I've been asked this so many times since...
You don't know?
I attribute it to my nan.
Sweet.
But yeah, I would say, I think most people probably attribute it to like a grandparent or something that they maybe done with like their parents when they was growing up. So that's I'll give it to my nan.
Or the major lockdown baking boom.
Yes, banana bread.
Everybody
all over the place, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I love a banana bread, even now.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your messages about tonight's topics, whilst Dr. Renee coughs all over us. And Richard says, jobs for the boys. He'll be in the House of Lords soon. Well, I hope not.
Good.
I hope not too.
Lord Khan.
Do you know what? Actually, I hope he is, because then he won't be able to run in Parliament.
He'd be great.
There you go. That's better. Put him in the Lords. Shove him there.
No.
Seriously, yeah. Get him out.
No. And a lot of people pointing out that actually London just isn't the same anymore, and that's the reason for the decline within our capital city. And Will says, live and let apply. It's possible to discuss and argue with intelligent people and come up with solutions to problems, but you can't do that with stupidity.
I'm living proof that you can.
No, but the point being, live and let apply, let all apply, and the best candidate win.
Yes.
You know, we used to believe in these things as worthwhile principles.
I agree.
But we know that
but one internship, that really doesn't stress me out, guys. I really don't. I'm not worried about it.
OK, right, it's time for our next debate. Which of one of you...
It's me.
Oh, she said that with some determination.
OK, so the Football Association is supposed to be an apolitical sporting body for footballers who want to play football and have fun. You know? Instead, it's turned into a woke propaganda machine for nefarious organisations like Black Lives Matter and Stonewall. And it also, let's not forget the way it's treating its female players, as it actually forces them to play not against women and girls, which is who they want to play against, but against men, and they have to smile about it and say nothing. So this week it demonstrated its religious bias too. So embedded with Stonewall in it that the FA has demanded that the captains of our major football teams wear the stupid rainbow armband, regardless of whether or not they actually agree with it. It is without doubt, the rainbow armband, a political statement. So to the credit of a few players, they were religious and they didn't agree and they didn't want to wear it. And this is where the FA showed its bias towards one religion over another. So the footballer Mark Gay decided, he's a Christian, that he would wear it, but he wrote on it, I love Jesus, Jesus loves you, on different matches. He has been spoken to by the FA, reprimanded, a slap on the wrist, and he's been reminded of the no political messages. You couldn't make it up, really, could you? So he's had a slap on the wrist. In other news, two other Muslim players, Sam Morsi and Nusrat Muzrai, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrongly, just refused to wear it because of their religion, and I applaud them for that. What did the FA do? Nothing. They just looked away. No slap on the wrist for them. They just looked away. So the non-political, non-religious FA, in reality, is a political, religious, misogynistic, virtue signalling, authoritarian organisation that is determined to promote an ideology which is designed to damage women and girls, and it's going to force its male Christian players to force it through and wear the signatory of that, but not its Muslim ones. Why are our institutions so wedded to this leftist, Marxist ideology, which, in my opinion, is ruining society and breaking up families? Kai, what do you think?
I can't believe you just called Stonewall a nefarious organisation. I can't believe you're against rainbow armbands when football, English football, is watched all over the world. It's revered by football fans. And in Africa, African countries, very, very popular, right? But 72 countries across the world criminalise homosexual
Nothing
relationships,
to do with us,
many
right.
of them being in Africa.
Nothing to
and this sign is an important symbol to show people that football is for everybody. Right? And I think that's fantastic.
This is the problem, Kai, because people like you are very happy putting on rainbow kind of armbands as opposed to actually going out and solving those problems. This is just a diversion to stop us.
You're assuming that you're implying there that Kai actually goes to football match.
Secondary point.
To a bit of football.
But this is all just that sort of feel-good symbolism. If you actually have a problem in society, go and solve that problem. Don't just virtue signal.
They raise money for charity. The armbands raise money for Stonewall, which does amazing work supporting LGBT people across the UK, and I do believe that. And also this lie. Sorry, can I just point out this lie that the FA is making women play with men?
Well,
is there one case of that actually happening?
Excuse me.
Is there one case
Okay,
of
sorry,
that
I have to
actually
come back at this. There are currently 172 male players playing in the Female Football League. Yes, Kai, there is one case. There's more than one.
Geez, that's a great off the top of your head fact.
Didn't one just win BBC's Woman of the Year,
Yes.
allegedly? I mean,
Barbara Banda.
Look, the thing is, Kai, is that if the FA really cared about all this stuff, they cared about LGBT rights and they cared about all this virtue signalling, they wouldn't have sent the teams to Qatar, would they? Where there's no LGBT rights, in fact, you're persecuted for being gay. So, I mean, it's all a bunch of nonsense. It's all a bunch of looking good without doing good. And I think this stuff actually puts off players that might be gay from coming out because it's made such a hoo-ha of it. And they just want to be treated like normal people. They don't want to be having to fly a rainbow flag around, I'm the gay player. They just want to be treated like everyone else.
But it's not. It's because it's not even about sexuality anymore. It's about
agenda.
And
it is.
It's an ideology. It's an ideology.
No, I think the Sam Morsy case in particular, if you're going to be a captain, you need to represent the whole team. You need to represent all the players. And I think it's actually shameful that he wasn't willing to wear that rainbow.
I applaud him.
No. If you're a captain, your role is to lead.
One of our viewers has a good point. Leaky says Stonewall started off with good intentions, but it should have closed down when it achieved its aims for lesbian, gay and bisexual people. And the point being, Kai, that the only reason they're still going is because they thought, uh-oh, how the hell are we going to keep the money coming in? I know. Trans.
Achieving the aim.
Kai, answer this question. What rights do gay, lesbian, trans people not have in the UK that straight people don't have?
It's still rife bullying across the UK.
Bullying is one thing. I asked about rights. I asked specifically about rights.
For LGBT kids.
What rights?
But also rights can be taken away, Alex, as you know that.
Okay, but what rights do they not have right now?
No, rights can be taken away.
Oh, so this is in case?
You can't just shut down when the job is done.
I think you'll find, audience, the answer is that their rights are exactly the same as everyone else's.
And also, what rights do trans people not have in Britain?
Trans people can't transition without a really horrible and demeaning process at the minute.
So just make sure they don't have a mental illness.
So
that
I should be able to just turn up in Dr. Renee's bathroom and say, I'm a woman. There's nothing you can do.
No, but there needs to be a process, but it could be much less demeaning than it is now.
I mean, look, I don't have a problem with people doing whatever they want to their bodies. I don't have when you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. That's my belief, right? However, you don't need to force it down people's throats. You don't need to demand that women share the same bathroom as you.
Well, also,
you don't need to demand anything from anybody.
So what's your solution? What's the solution? Which bathrooms do they go to? Which bathrooms do they go to then?
We're going to have to go to a break now, I'm afraid. Right, Reform Party membership is surging, but can Sir Keir Starmer bring about the change he keeps promising? Well, Alex has got some words. You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Darragh continues to bring some very wet and very windy weather as we go through the rest of Saturday and into Sunday, with weather warnings still in force quite widely across the UK. Storm Darragh moves its way south and eastwards away from the UK, but that squeeze in the isobars across western areas still indicates those strong winds we're likely to see. Gusts here of 60, perhaps 70 miles an hour as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. And plenty of heavy rain across eastern parts of England too, and southern parts of Scotland could see that persistent rain into the early hours of Sunday morning. Quite a chilly night to come, though temperatures likely to stay above zero, but with that northerly breeze, it will be a really chilly start to the day on Sunday, particularly where we see that cloud and rain persisting across eastern eastern parts of the UK. So quite a cloudy and damp start to the day here. Heavy and persistent rain as we go through the morning and into the afternoon. But across western parts of the UK, southwest parts of England, western parts of Wales, Northern Ireland as well, perhaps seeing a bit of a brighter start to the day, albeit with 1 or 2 showers in places. Western parts of Scotland seeing some bright skies through the morning as well, but in the east, plenty of showers still piling in from the north. These likely to turn to sleet and snow over any high ground. Those showers continue across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, but it's that heavy rain that we really need to keep an eye on across the southern and eastern parts of England, slowly pushing its way south and eastwards as we go through Sunday afternoon. It will still be a windy day quite widely across the UK, but those winds gradually starting to ease from the northwest as we go in towards the evening. And temperatures will still be around about average for the time of year, but definitely feeling chilly in that northerly breeze, particularly across the south and the east where we see that cloud and rain persisting. The cloud and rain gradually starts to ease across the southeast through Monday morning, so quite a chilly start, particularly across Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. Some frost in places with light winds here. But for most of us, it'll be turning a bit drier as we go through Monday. Still 1 or 2 showers across the southeast, but turning a bit drier, and that's a theme for the rest of the week. High pressure building, but that does mean the temperatures are on the downturn by the time we get to Wednesday.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for all of your messages. Helen says, if you try and stand up against this woke nonsense, you get cancelled, you lose sponsorship and you lose your job. It's toxic. And David says, as a gay man, I'm totally against the virtue signalling in football. It's about the game. Keep politics out of sport. Stonewall are out of date and don't help the LGB community one bit. And Dan points out that actually every time Macron shakes President Trump's hand, he can't let go, like he's glued to him. It's Napoleon complex, that's what it is. He's so short. You can't shake off that cold. Bless you.
I need a doctor.
Right, OK, it's time for our next debate. Who's going next?
Oh, it's going to be me. Let me have a go, Darragh.
Go on, then.
Has anyone got any spare change, by any chance? Spare change, anyone here? No. Well, if you find some, please put it aside for poor old Keir Starmer. He's now on what feels like his 17th relaunch of his ailing government. But rather than you having to sit there and listen to his laborious speech, I've prepared a little summary for you. Here it is.
We change our plan, not changing the conversation. Change and reform are coming. Fixing the foundations, change. Change. A £22 billion black hole of change. Fixing the foundations. Change. A plan for change. Change. Of a change, but also change. We all have a stake in change.
Sorry. But anyway, where is the change, Keir? Because your speech was full of everything you've already told us. We're fixing the foundations, we've got a £22 billion black hole, we're going to put a bobby on the streets. I mean, it's all the same old. And this comes off the back of a new poll. This new poll puts Labour in 3rd place. 3rd place, get that. That is behind the Tories on 26% and Reform on 24%. It puts Labour on 23%. So I'm going to ask the panel, what change does Starmer need to deliver if he doesn't want a change of government? Darren.
What change does he need to deliver if he doesn't want a change of government? Well, he could start by giving one of his 6 milestones as immigration, which is the biggest concern that the British public currently have. He didn't mention it once. And when Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, was asked on a lesser channel, another channel, about why it wasn't part of that, she confirmed that it wasn't one of their priorities. And I'm like, It's because they don't care about it. They don't see anything wrong.
No, it's because they don't want to put a figure on it, like the Tories did, and then catastrophically failed to do anything like it.
Because they know that they're not going to do anything about it.
But Kai, the reason
they've already been doing things about it.
The reason the Tories categorically failed on it is because they didn't want to win. So if Labour really does read the room, they should know that they have to win. Therefore, they should put a cap on it and do it.
And also, I understand why people like Kai are willing to say, well, the Tories were equally rubbish, and they were equally rubbish. But this is serious. We actually need to solve this problem now. And by continually saying, oh, well, the other side were really bad, isn't getting us any closer to solving an existential problem.
As I've said on this channel many times, what we had 12 weeks of Parliament sitting, and you're all expecting the world. That's not how politics works.
Let me put it to you this way then. All right. So, I think the Tories were utterly abysmal, particularly in the last one. Absolute disaster, right? What is it that Keir Starmer's doing differently? He's been in government for 5 months. He's only just had a budget, which has gone down exceptionally poorly with business, by the way. We've got companies closing down and moving to America on mass. The data is pretty clear on that. What is it that he's doing?
Bond markets are back to normal.
What is he? I mean, the pound's crashed. Businesses are liquidated. Businesses have liquidated at their fastest rate on record, Kai. So what is it that he thinks he's doing? We're being taxed out of our backsides. What is it that he's doing that's different from Rishi Sunak?
They are making, right? Yes, taxes, all that stuff, they're making difficult choices. We're not going to see the result of that for a while. That's why they're doing the difficult things early on in the term. So that by 5 years, we'll have the success to show for.
This difficult choices is to spaff all our money up the wall on net zero targets and let pensioners die at home in the cold in winter. That's a choice that they made. I will never forgive them for the very first choice they made.
No, honestly, I know net zero is a difficult pill to swallow, but it's going to take a while. And in the end, actually, I think it'll lead to sort of reinvigoration of it.
Net zero is a difficult pill. Net zero is a cyanide pill. It's not a difficult pill to swallow.
What do you say to those at Port Talbot and the like, who we have the highest electricity costs in the whole of Europe, and that's a decision. We made that decision. We did that to ourselves. What do you say to those working-class men and women?
Tata did.
No, Tata didn't do that. We did.
The highest electricity costs, they have absolutely no say over our restrictive targets. They didn't sign Ed Miliband's 2008 Climate Change Act or Theresa May's 2017 net zero target.
Look, I'm from Wales. I have more experience of industrial heartlands in Wales than any of you combined. And I know it's difficult. We've had a really difficult few years in Wales, but you're not going to solve that by propping up...
Labour are losing in Wales. Labour are going to lose in Wales overwhelmingly.
And what should be happening, and what I can guarantee you will be happening, is these new green industries will be focused on exactly those places that need it most, like Port Talbot, like the Welsh Valleys. If you focus investment on those areas, then that's how you treat people with respect. That's how you get working class communities.
Peter has messaged in, and Peter says, why wasn't Starmer at the reconsecration of Notre-Dame today with President Trump? Peter, I think it's simply because he spent more time abroad than he has in Britain. I think the man has been away more times than, some member of the World Economic Forum.
Well, he has
this kind of...
And didn't he criticise Rishi Sunak for constantly going abroad? Yeah. And the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband's been flying off to Azerbaijan in jets to talk about climate change. It's just full of... This government is full of hypocrisy. They haven't got their act together. They had 14 years in opposition to get themselves together and to bring in an actual government of change, and they're failing already.
But let's not forget, in Wales, how long have Labour been in power?
Yes, 25 years since the
How well is it going, Kai?
Well,
we need fair funding. We need fair funding.
No, come on. They're putting in policies in Wales, and this is a real policy. This is a real policy which is going to put dogs not allowed in the countryside because dogs are racist. This is a real policy. Go and Google it. It's a real thing.
No, I know.
And this is how bonkers the Welsh Parliament's got, which is why Darren's right. Labour will be out in Wales, and Reform will probably be in.
We have a bet.
All right, I will hold you to that.
I mean, what's Plaid Cymru's position on net zero? I assume they support it as well.
They support it as well.
As an aside, it is a really interesting insight that a lot of the votes going from Labor are going to Reform and not going to the Tories. It shows a fundamental realignment in British politics. It's fascinating.
Well, Chris Hope said on this very desk the other day that he heard from a very senior Labour source that they cannot decide if it's going to be Reform or the Conservatives that they see as their biggest threat.
By the look of the polls, Reform are a working class people's party.
Yes.
Let's get real. I've been to the Reform Party conference. I've seen the people there. They are real working class people and they want sensible government. And that's what the Labour Party used to stand for.
And that's really interesting.
I just want to add that I used to work for the Labour Party when it was sort of sensible, and it used to be about working class people. It's not anymore. It's about the elite. It's about the wealthy. Just look at what they're doing to farmers.
But it's even worse than that. Labour actually sneer at the working class. They despise the working class man, and they really don't even know who they are or what they do and how hard their lives are. That's the problem.
Yeah, it seemed to be the case with specifically with net zero, which is hitting the poorest hardest.
Mark says, I'm from Wales too, and I can guarantee you Labour is going bye-bye, gone in a few.
Look, the reform surge is really interesting, and Labour need to find an effective way of dealing with it. The problem Reform has is how does it break through to the mainstream and convert the enthusiasm they have into actually a proper, solid campaign. But the Senate elections are a low-hanging fruit, and I reckon they could be the second largest party. But Wales, the Labour Party dominance of Wales is not at 10, and we'll have our bet for the Senate election, Renee.
Yeah, because the Tories as well, it's worth saying, have just had their leadership election in which there was only one candidate, so it was a coronation. But the Tories in Wales are nothing.
No.
It's on its knees.
They've lost a very charismatic
Let's not forget,
leader.
Reform are doing well in Scotland as well.
Yeah,
you know, so I think that the Labour Party and the Tories should both be scared of this.
All right, still to come tonight, the Prime Minister has promised to boost ties with the United States during his first major foreign policy speech. But should he be thinking about Europe? Kai says yes. You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The BBC has been branded jaw-achingly stupid, not by me, by the way, over its decision to cast black and ethnic minority actors in the historical drama of Wolf Hall. Now, is this a forward-thinking idea or nonsense? And are we rewriting history? Henry, I mean, the Tudors were real-life people. They were pretty much white.
Well, some of these shows depart so much from historical context anyway that maybe it doesn't make any difference. But I think just generally we've got a problem in this country with portraying history in its correct sense. You can't change history. And I think it's about the motivation. If the motivation is to sort of to make a political point, then I think it's wrong.
What I find kind of tedious about people finding this instant jaw-droppingly stupid, Jesus was portrayed by somebody who's half Slovak and half Irish. Moses was portrayed in the Exodus by an Englishman. So, you know, same with Anne Boleyn, you know, was portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is Jewish. So if this is the one thing that's getting people angry, then there's something deeper within that rage, because I think Hollywood's been doing that, where people...
When you say something deeper, do you think there is a hidden racism and people are complaining about this?
Well, I think for some, maybe yes. I can't speak for everybody because this news dropped today. I don't know why they are thinking that it's egregious, but there absolutely must be some underlying racism if this is the only one that you're upset about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're
proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your messages about tonight's topics. They're coming in thick and fast. Someone has just messaged in asking if Dr. Renee can check between Kai's ears because they're not content there's anything there. Poor Kai. David said it didn't seem like a difficult choice for this government to give bumper pay rises to their union paymasters while stripping the cold weather payment from our elderly. The only carbon Labour seem to want to cut away is the elderly.
Well said.
Alan says, withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance, net zero, etc. It's all about gradually killing off all those grumpy old Brexit voters by stealth. Yep. And Ian says, the only way we will lead the world with this net zero rubbish is by being the first country to bankrupt itself.
Geez, the audience is on fire tonight. There's some great insights.
You are. You are. I might have been a bit selective there with my choices.
Not biased in any way, are you? No.
Now it's time for our next debate, unfortunately. And by process of elimination, it's indeed Kai Wilshaw. Take it away.
Yep, that's me. Well, in a speech in the City of London, Keir Starmer insisted that there's no need to decide between cozying up with the United States and with Europe, saying, I reject it utterly. Now, he has to say this, doesn't he? But I personally don't want us any closer to the orange-haired fascist in the White House, Donald Trump. His tariff policy is dangerous. His tax policy is unjust and unjustifiable. His borders policy is, frankly, inhumane. Instead, I say let's turn back to Europe. They are reliable partners, our strong allies, our closest neighbours. They share our values. And I know that maybe some of you will have been thinking in the back of your heads, like I have in the last few months, weren't things better when we were part of the European Union? Have you thought it once? Have you thought it once, surely? Look, this Christmas, back away from crazy Uncle Trump. Cosy up to Mother England. Mother England? Mother Europe. Well, fumbled that one.
That sounds
what do we think?
Sort of Cold War, doesn't it? Come into the arms of Mother
Europe.
We will look after you. Well, yeah. I mean, Europe is disintegrating, Kai, in front of your eyes and my eyes, but you want to be a part of that big bankrupt superstate.
Every country and every bloc of countries has its problems.
Oh, that's a convenient answer.
We live in. But
I think Brexit,
honestly, I think you'll find that Europe is going to be a safe haven in the next few years.
Imagine having a conversation about African poverty. Oh, well, every country has its problems.
Brexit has been the most prescient, the best decision that this nation has made in many years, and I'll tell you why. No. Germany is on its knees right now, right? Germany made the stupid decision to close all of its nuclear plants, and it's now suffering the consequences. Guess which country, which other member state would be on the hook for a Eurozone bailout should the Eurozone go through the floor right now, which it could do. We would be on the hook for that. We have unchained ourselves from a declining sclerotic block that is going down like the Titanic, baby, and we did absolutely the right thing. Well, and look at them migration problems. They're even worse than ours in some respects, but we've got more illegals coming here. And I want absolutely naff all to do with the EU.
Add France to the list.
Take their money, maybe. Trade.
Can I just say, so I've just come back from Hungary, who are the president of the European Parliament at the moment. And so obviously they control a lot of the agenda of the debates and things like that. And one of the things that they're pushing is EU competitiveness, which is really important. And their biggest fear, and I spoke to multiple different ministers about this, their biggest fear is that EU is uncompetitive. It cannot compete. It has regulations up to its eyeballs, particularly on groundbreaking technology like artificial intelligence. That is meaning capital is flooding into America. And look at how much that is happening in America right now since Trump won the election.
Will, we've got 1 minute left. List the things that we're doing right without the EU that we wouldn't have been able to do, you know, before Brexit.
Well, we're not chained to economies that are literally going down the gurgler. If you look at France at the moment, it's an absolute disaster. We should have the ability to control our borders in theory. Unfortunately, in practice, that is proving difficult.
Nothing.
And then the third is we should be able to have a greater control over our legal and regulatory framework than what we otherwise would.
Trump would help us with those aims and objectives, yes or no?
Of course it would. And it means we will be more prosperous. We will have more money if we align with Trump.
So
that's the bottom line.
Can any of you give me an example
Yes, I can.
of something that we could do now that we
are
before?
just about to join the CPTPP, which is one of the largest trade bodies in the world. And we could not do that while we were in the European Union. That's absolutely a fact. And we'll be able to strike more and more of those deals and open up trade to hundreds of countries of massive economies in the world.
Amazing that you're saying this the week that the EU has signed the largest trade agreement ever with Mercosur. I mean, we're out of that. I mean, we're out of that.
This is for Britain. This isn't shared. This isn't a shared agreement.
Right.
This is for Britain.
We'll leave that there. Right, loads more to come on the show tonight, including our big interview this week. We'll be joined by a dairy farmer following Arla's announcement to add food additives to cows' feed. This is the Saturday 5, only on GB News.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Darragh continues to bring some very wet and very windy weather as we go through the rest of Saturday and into Sunday, with weather warnings still in force quite widely across the UK. Storm Darragh moves its way south and eastwards away from the UK, but that squeeze in the isobars across western areas still indicates those strong winds we're likely to see. Gusts here of 60, perhaps 70 miles an hour as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. And plenty of heavy rain across eastern parts of England too, and southern parts of Scotland could see that persistent rain into the early hours of Sunday morning. Quite a chilly night to come, though. Temperatures likely to stay above zero, but with that northerly breeze, it will be a really chilly start to the day on Sunday, particularly where we see that cloud and rain persisting across eastern parts of the UK. So quite a cloudy and damp start to the day here. Heavy and persistent rain as we go through the morning and into the afternoon, but across western parts of the UK, southwest parts of England, western parts of Wales, Northern Ireland as well, perhaps seeing a bit of a brighter start to the day, albeit with 1 or 2 showers in places. Western parts of Scotland seeing some bright skies through the morning as well, but in the east, plenty of showers still piling in from the north. These likely to turn to sleet and snow over any high ground. Those showers continue across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, but it's that heavy rain that we really need to keep an eye on across the southern and eastern parts of England, slowly pushing its way south and eastwards as we go through Sunday afternoon. It will still be a windy day quite widely across the UK, but those winds gradually starting to ease from the northwest as we go in towards the evening. And temperatures will still be around about average for the time of year, but definitely feeling chilly in that northerly breeze, particularly across the south and the east where we see that cloud and rain persisting. The cloud and rain gradually starts to ease across the southeast through Monday morning, so quite a chilly start, particularly across Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. Some frost in places with light winds here. But for most of us, it'll be turning a bit drier as we go through Monday. Still 1 or 2 showers across the southeast, but turning a bit drier, and that's a theme for the rest of the week. High pressure building, but that does mean the temperatures are on the downturn by the time we get to Wednesday.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements? Or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Patrick Christys. This is GB News. the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Apparently, in the Mail, page 5, hard-pressed bosses already having to deal with deadlines, red tape and staff who won't actually come into the office over Christmas. And they're saying that Christmas parties this year are going to be as lame as ever because everyone's afraid of basically getting cancelled or misbehaving or getting sacked for their behaviour. Would you risk it, Trey, at Christmas?
Do you know, I've actually never had a normal job in my life, so I wouldn't last a second because I'm not very politically correct. But it must be horrendous, really, because rather than enjoying yourself, you're having to completely always censor yourself. And it might be the most innocent of stuff that's said to someone that they then take offence to, which means you're going to probably just keep your mouth shut, which doesn't sound like the best of parties, does it, really?
No. Tricky one, isn't it? Because you're not at work, so it's not an office issue if, you know, some banter and it's taken the wrong way. But still, it's still a work environment, isn't it?
Yeah. If HR shows up, it's a work party. It's a work event.
HR shows up, I'm gone.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. And so even for us this year, first of all, it's the first year we're calling it a holiday party. I don't know how I felt about
Really?
that.
What, your company's doing that?
Yeah, they're calling it a holiday party.
Oh, no, well, no.
Yeah, I know. I voted against.
So they got rid of the word
Christmas.
Why?
Because we want to be inclusive.
How's it not inclusive to call it Christmas?
I know. Trust me.
Are you still going to go? I wouldn't bother going. I'd say no.
I am going to go, but I'm going to go dressed as Mrs. Claus, and it's going to be Christmassy, and I'm going to make sure that Christmas enters the door with me.
Yeah, you spread that Christian vibe.
100%. But outside of that, there is that element of HR showing up, and HR will be sober, and they've already prepped them to say, like, listen, this isn't your party. HR can have their party. This is your hangout.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's being PC.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Oh, very festive. Welcome. It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Alex Armstrong, and Kai Wilshaw. Plenty more to come tonight, including tonight's big interview with a dairy farmer following Arla's pursuit to try and reduce the impact of cows farting. And a sentence I never thought I'd say. And should Elon Musk be getting involved in UK politics? Kai and Willie will be going head-to-head in the infamous Saturday scrap. Everyone needs a Willie in the corner, Stephen has just said in our inbox. It's 7 p.m, and this is the Saturday 5. Still to come tonight, would you marry your mother-in-law to avoid inheritance tax? And then we'll be answering your questions in Ask the Five. Send them through to gbnews.com/your say. First of all, though, it's your Saturday night news with Joe Casper.
Good afternoon, it's 7:07. I'm Joe Casper in the GB Newsroom. Well, in the last few moments, the Prince of Wales has met with the US President-elect Donald Trump in Paris. William had travelled to the French capital today for the ceremonial reopening of Notre-Dame Cathedral following a fire in 2019. Mr. Trump gave William a pat on the shoulder before the two shook hands and spoke for a few seconds. William was greeted earlier in the rainy French capital by President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. His plans were disrupted by Storm Darragh. He had originally been scheduled to meet Mr. Trump before the cathedral event. William is expected to discuss the US-UK relationship further with Mr. Trump and Mrs. Biden. Ex-owner Elon Musk is among the high-profile names from around the world at the ceremony, which is happening right now. Earlier this afternoon, Mr. Trump and Mr. Macron had met. The French president greeted the US president-elect on the steps of the Elysee Palace, and the pair shook hands and posed for pictures. Shortly after, they met with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, for trilateral talks. Mr. Zelensky said he had a good and productive meeting with the two. Well, Mr. Trump and Mr. Macron had addressed reporters earlier this afternoon. Here's what the US president had to say.
Very great honor. And we had a great relationship, as everyone knows. We accomplished a lot together. And the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people. And we respect them and we love them. Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
The ceremony, hosted by Mr. Macron, features the opening of the cathedral's huge doors, the reawakening of its organ, and the first Mass since its restoration. West Ham footballer Mikel Antonio has been involved in a road traffic accident in Essex, the Premier League club has said. In the last few moments, it has confirmed that the striker is in a stable condition. In a statement, the club said Mikel is conscious and communicating and is currently under close supervision at a central London hospital. At this difficult time, we kindly ask everyone to respect the privacy of Mikel and his family. The club will make no further comment this evening, but will issue a further update in due course. An investigation is underway after a man died when a tree fell onto his van during Storm Darragh in Lancashire. Emergency services were called at around 9 a.m. this morning near to Lancashire Police headquarters where the incident happened. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His family have been informed and are being supported by a specially trained officer. Meanwhile, a major incident has been declared in parts of Wales because of disruption from Storm Darragh. Dyfed-Powys Police said it was continuing to experience high volumes of calls about fallen trees and poor driving conditions. The storm, which hit the UK overnight, has brought heavy rain and winds of up to 93 miles an hour, causing widespread disruption. In Northern Ireland, authorities have warned people to undertake only essential travel. The weather caused rail services to be disrupted and bridges and roads to be closed. Passengers at some of the UK's biggest airports have described harrowing landings as air traffic restrictions are in place. Our Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire, has been at Glasgow Airport for us.
As Storm Darragh continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
Those are your latest headlines. I'm Joe Casper. More from me in an hour. Now back to the 5.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Joe. It's Saturday night, my friends, and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes, and I can promise that you're in for a very lively hour. There's lots of comments coming in, and Kez says, Donald, please make us the 51st state of the United States of America.
Nobody supports that.
Oh, well, I do.
Yeah. Well, you're in a minority of 8% of British people who think that, so...
Who surveyed that? You go.
Someone else says,
I'm the voice of the people here.
Hang on, because someone else says, I just read a very funny one, actually, which was scathing about your political ambitions, Kai. Apparently you want to be a politician. Hang on, I've just lost it now. Where the hell's it gone? And anyway, the gist of it is, he says that when you're on a panel with 4 extreme right people and trying to advance your own career, he calls us British nationalist lunatics. Says, and this is from Aled, who I assume is in Wales. He'd be better off focusing on what really matters, campaigning for Wales and the Welsh language.
You are a Welsh speaker.
That is an interesting profile of viewer, isn't it? Actually, Alan is my grandfather's name, so I hope it's not him. I don't think he's watching.
No. But you do speak Welsh, don't you?
Are you an extreme right British nationalist?
Well, yeah, don't start speaking...
He's from Australia.
Yeah, it's the Aussie over there.
Don't start speaking Welsh in front of us. We'll all be covered in phlegm, so maybe...
Oh my God.
You are so in trouble with the Welsh.
You are. Welsh people do watch GB News. We love the Welsh. Right, OK. Dairy giant Arla has been accused by one of His Majesty the King's advisors on farming of re-engineering the cow with a trial of methane-suppressing feed. Now, Arla, the company which owns the UK's biggest dairy cooperative, announced that 30 of its farms across the country would test the additive named, how do I pronounce that? Bovaer, this feed that stops them farting. And this comes as some UK social media users have been pouring their milk down their sinks and their toilets in protest at the trial of the new additive Bovaer. We're joined by dairy farmer now, Jamie Blackett, who had an op-ed, a piece on this very additive, and actually argues that we shouldn't get our knickers in a twist over Arla. Jamie, have I got that right? That was the gist of your piece.
Well, it was really. Evening, Darren. It was very tempting when I was asked to write the piece to, write a sensationalist piece rubbishing the whole climate change scam and all the rest of it. And I have written previously about what I call the great deflection of big oil, big airlines, and everybody onto farming, because I think we're now winning the argument on methane. Methane is a flow gas, what they call a flow gas in the atmosphere that just goes round and round in a continuous loop. It stays in the atmosphere for 12 years and then it breaks down, goes back into the soil. And that's the carbon cycle that we all learnt at school. What this trial is all about, this Bovaer, this drug that gets added to the feed, potentially, if the trial works, this means there's less methane in the first place going into the atmosphere because there's less burping going on. It's the burps, not the farts, incidentally, that we worry about with the methane. And so there's a smaller continuous loop, and therefore there will be less methane. We could take some methane out of the atmosphere. Now, with my chemistry O-level from 1980, I'm not going to tell you whether that is a good thing or not, whether that's going to solve climate change, if that's the thing we should all be worried about. I'm just wrote the piece to say, look, this is the thinking behind it, and let's have a trial. Let's not be anti-science about these things, and certainly let's not get completely hysterical and stop buying milk, because I know there were all sorts of worries after COVID with the very rapid development of vaccines and things like that. People don't trust scientists very much at the moment. Yes. But provided this issue is well aerated, which with my journalist hat on I've been trying to do, so there is lots of scrutiny, and we need to trust the Food Standards Agency and everybody else to make sure that this would not harm the cattle or anybody who drinks the milk. And this has been around for 15 years, this product, in trials and developments. And I've seen various scientific things that if in very high concentrates it might.
So, Jamie, would you be happy to drink it yourself? You would consume it, milk that from a cow that has been fed the product.
Yes, I think I would, provided it has gone through all of the hurdles. Which
but how do we know it's gone through all the hurdles? How do consumers know it's gone through? So, for example, one of our viewers, Helen, has said, I believe there are 30 Arla farms in the UK. Can you ask your farmer how widespread this feed is in the United Kingdom? Should you expect going to your local supermarket that the cow that you are drinking the milk from will have consumed Bovaer?
Well, I think what you have to say to yourself is that probably every day, I try to avoid any sort of processed food, but inevitably we do eat things that have all sorts of additives in them. And actually, milk already, cows, they get antibiotics occasionally. If they're ill, we have to give them something, and then there's a withdrawal period before the milk is allowed to go, for sale again. This is not something completely new. We've been giving various feed supplements, minerals that we give to the cows to make them that little bit healthier, to produce more milk. And there is a tried and tested system in this country. I know that our milk, the first thing that happens to it when the milk tanker picks it up is it gets tested. Very rigorous testing for all sorts of diseases, for any traces of anything that might be in the milk, any antibiotics, any dirt or anything like that.
Yeah.
All right, so it goes through the protocol, it goes through the rigmarole. Renee?
I guess, Jamie...
so I think we should keep things in perspective, I think.
OK, so Jamie, I'm the doctor on the panel, and I think what this is kind of... You're right, that there are additives in lots of things, but I think people are starting to get more aware of this now, and perhaps because of COVID, what people are worried about is consent. So this is a trial, which by definition means it is an experiment, and I think people want to know that they can opt in or opt out of that. And the only way right now they can opt in or opt out is to ask whether or not that is in the cow's feed, and if they don't want to be part of the experiment, buy someone else's milk. And I think that's only fair, don't you?
Well, I think the first thing I would say that it's not just Arla. I mean, Arla have been very upfront about this because it's a farmer-owned cooperative. It's not a giant conglomerate owned by sort of private equity or anything like that. And, therefore, they take the reputation very seriously. We are actually Arla suppliers here. And I think, so far, perhaps the public relations has not been as good as it should have been. And I think they do need to explain to people, whether it's going to be in the milk or in their cornflakes or not, or whether actually, I suspect what's going to happen is that particular milk will be very rigorously screened.
So perhaps they could put it on the label, Jamie. This milk is from a cow
maybe that's something that possibly will have to happen.
I just don't know why we need to do this, right? I just don't know why we're doing this in the first place. Like, why?
Well, look, I wanted to ask Jamie. Look, I think Darren's absolutely nailed it. There is somewhere in the world, I think it might even be Kuwait, there's 32 million tyres burning, and we're worried about giving cows burping, which they've been doing for presumably thousands of years since the cow was actually on the planet. Is this just not another tax on farmers that they don't need right now?
Well, that's a very good point, and I've talked about what I call the great deflection. Of course, cows burping is an entirely natural process. Although it has to be said, it is on my farm because they're out grazing, and there are these methanotrophs in the soil, the bacteria that hanging around the cattle that are gobbling up the methane as it happens. But lots and lots of dairies across the world are not grazing pasture. They're inside on concrete, and therefore there's not a natural process going on, and so maybe that is something that perhaps has to be looked at. But of course, burning tires or whatever, that's really what we should be focusing on rather than farming. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Is big chem, big pharma going to make a fast buck out of this? Well, you bet they are.
Jamie,
got 1 minute left.
On that note, I've read an interesting study today that something else has an equal effect to this drug, and that's seaweed, a naturally occurring red algae seaweed. So if we accept, and I don't, that this is a problem, surely it's better to just give them seaweed than a chemical.
Very brief response, Jamie.
Yeah, well, I definitely. I would much rather a natural product, and I'm sure that Bovaer is just one of many products under development at the moment, and possibly we will end up with something completely different. But I think science has to be allowed to sort of find its way. We mustn't be anti-science and not have trials.
All right, Jamie, thank you very much to you and to your lovely cows. We appreciate you giving up your time this evening. Now, in response, a spokesperson for Arla, who are responsible for the development of the new supplement, said Bovaer has already been extensively and safely used across Europe, and at no point during the trial will there be any impact on the milk we produce, as it does not pass from the cow into the milk. OK, we're going to cross now to Paris, as the reopening of Notre-Dame ceremony is taking place right now. So you've got the first official mass taking place in Notre-Dame since it closed 5 years ago in that absolutely horrific fire. You know, fair kudos to France for turning this around. And it's a thing of beauty. It really, really is. I'm not surprised President Trump went, because this is massive, this is mega, this is Western civilization saying that it will not lie down and take, it's the end of it, you know?
But they did this with such craftsmanship in 5 years. Can you imagine if this was us?
We can't even put a building up in 5 years, let alone planning permission.
The Tyne Bridge, we put the Tyne Bridge in Newcastle up in about 3 years. It's taken more than 5 to repair it. Honestly, we're seeing there lots of members of the Catholic Church, of course. They're not like us sound Protestants here. No, I'm joking. And there is the splendour of Notre Dame, and that's where all of the main repairs took place. In the actual, there's the organ. You can see that organ that will play for the first time today since that fire 5 years ago. It really is a thing of beauty and splendour, and I think it was Alan Clark who described it actually as civilization itself. And I think that it couldn't have said it any better, really.
This is wonderful live commentary, Darren. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you.
And it is beautiful to see that we can still do this, and there's still appetite.
Well, France can.
Well, France can, yeah. But there's still appetite for us to rebuild these buildings. A lot of people would say, well, that's it, it's had it.
All right. We'll come back to Notre Dame later in the show. Now, though, it's time for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to become our biggest ever winner with an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. It's an amazing sum of money, and it could actually make your new year your best year. Here's all the details you need for a chance to make it yours.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
What are you waiting for? You really could be our biggest winner so far. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hey, you could buy Notre Dame with that cash. Next up, it's the Saturday Scrap. Do you think Elon Musk should be getting involved in UK politics? Well, Willie and Kai are going to have it off in our Saturday Scrap. That's it.
Get it together.
Are we? We're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Sunday with Michael Portillo. Well, drinkers have been warned about a drop in the quality of French wines after poor weather conditions hit this year's grape harvest. Winemakers across France will make 240 million fewer bottles of wine this year, the country's farming ministry said on Tuesday. So should we think of switching from French to English? I'm joined now by sommelier and founder of Inflorescence Wines, Jacinta Madison Williams. Hello, Jacinta.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. First of all, let's just think about the poor French.
We should.
Has this been a fairly universal weather catastrophe for France?
It has. A kind of across the board, we're about 22% down on last year's crops, which is quite significant. I think it's like one of the 4 years over the last century that have been this low. So.
And it's affected both quality and quantity?
I would say more so quantity. There's always ways of counteracting quality. It depends if people are desperate to make wine. They can obviously push out more watered-down grapes. There's been a lot of rain, if you hadn't noticed. Not only in France, we felt it here too. But lots of frost, supercell hailstorms have completely wiped out some crops. So in some cases, there's nothing to make. In other cases, it's just really watered-down grapes, and you want to pick earlier to make sure you're avoiding all those rains. But I would say more so it's quantity. But saying that, France is still the biggest producer of wine in the world. It might be taken over by Spain this year, but as a consumer, don't panic. We're not going to run out of wine. And we obviously have lots of lovely wine growing here now in England. So whether we do make a little jump for a bit to English wine, but there's definitely still lots out there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A very warm welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your messages about tonight's topics. Peter has written in, and Peter says, very concerned actually is Peter, about this panel and cows. He says, there's a case of mad cow disease in Wales.
Oh, no.
There was a case this week, you know.
What is he talking about?
I think he meant Kai. And Peter says, please ask Dr. Renee if a mother's milk is affected by what the mother consumes.
Oh, we just don't know. Oh, yes, of course it is. Yeah. So when we prescribe drugs for women that are breastfeeding, there are certain ones that we can't because it's excreted in breast milk.
But all I would say, safe as houses.
But that's what I'm saying. We just don't know, do we?
OK. All right. Well, now it's time for this. Yes, indeedy, my friends, it's time for tonight's main event. The tech billionaire Elon Musk was tipped to donate Reform UK over £78 million in a bid to put Nigel Farage in number 10. This wouldn't be the first time the Tesla boss has found himself embroiled in British politics, with Elon Musk having criticised Starmer over his handling of the summer riots. Now, if the reports are to be believed, that cash injection would be predicted to obliterate the Conservative Party. But the fundamental question is, should a citizen of a foreign country be allowed to get involved in domestic UK politics? Well, seconds out, it's round one. Ding, ding, my friends. Which one of you is going to go first?
I'll go first, Darren. I'd like to provide a burst of sanity before Kai drags down the tone of the show and probably the ratings as well. The reason that we need Elon Musk in UK politics is very simple. He is the living, breathing embodiment of everything that the UK needs at this current point in time and does not have. He is a warrior for free speech at a time when this country is becoming ever more authoritarian. He is a champion of entrepreneurialism at a time when growth is anemic. He's pushing back against the woke agenda at a time when our country seems to be embracing it, at least at the highest levels of government. And he also believes very strongly in efficiency and deregulation at a time when it feels like every day something new is being banned or another regulation is being put in place in this country. He is the antidote to Britain's ills. He is someone that is badly needed, even if it is in some sort of an advisory capacity. And let's face it, we are not in the position to be turning down money at this point in time. He is, to make no mistake, someone that the UK badly needs.
Absolutely not. Look, I don't think he should even be involved in US politics. Now, I think Elon Musk is irritated at delays in his manufacturing plants, irritated at the lack of demand for EVs and Teslas. It's been over 2 years since he bought Twitter, so he's getting bored. Now, that's no excuse to be spouting rubbish online and becoming the darling of the far right. There he is, amplifying Tommy Robinson, saying that civil war is inevitable, talking about two-tier Kia. What on earth does Elon Musk know about the UK except for what he comes across on his Twitter ramblings and on his feed? Now, the right wing will stop at nothing to get their hands on some filthy cash. Now, obviously, the Russian tap has closed down. No more cash for you, Tory party. Now they have to find somewhere else to get their money.
Lord Ali?
For the Reform Party, that turns out to be Elon Musk. But good riddance to Elon Musk. I can't bear the thought of the man involved in UK politics.
It's always interesting that the left gets just a little bit xenophobic when it suits them. They're very happy to have foreigners involved in our country and our politics when they're draining our resources and terrorising our streets. But if it's someone who actually can contribute to this country, it can offer value, and yes, can offer some cash, suddenly, oh no, we don't want the foreigner involved. It's very, very curious. A curious contradiction, isn't it, Guy?
All Elon Musk is good for is hiring clever people to do his bidding. Now,
that's a pretty key job of a good manager.
Look, he's an incredible manager, I agree, and he's had incredible success. But you talk to people actually in his plants and people who work for the likes of Tesla, the likes of SpaceX. He's not all that. He's not what he's cracked up to be. This new idea that we've seen over the last few years that he's some sort of eccentric genius. He's eccentric for sure, but genius he is not.
So you don't think a man, sorry, I assume we were coming in there, you don't think a man who actually is the richest man in the world has any sort of talent, really?
I just think that's the metric.
You said he's not all that.
I'm not saying he doesn't have any talent. He's very clever, yes. But is he this great genius? No. Now, even if he was, right, what do foreign billionaires have any business getting involved in UK politics? Where does it stop? Where does it stop? Carlos Slim Helu, the telecoms chief from Mexico.
2 months left, so I want to ask a question to both of you. Will, one of our viewers asks, if you had your way there, would we be happy for a Russian, Iranian or a Syrian citizen donating to one of our political parties?
And not just donating 80 million.
No, I wouldn't, because there's a distinction between Elon Musk and a Russian or an Iranian autocrat.
Can I?
I said one question each. So, Kai, the other question then is... Greg says, of course it should be allowed. It's a bit like Obama saying we'd be at the back of the queue and getting involved in our EU referendum. Americans, the Labour Party going on the campaign for President Biden.
No, we have strict financial regulations on donations in this country for this exact reason. And the other problem we have here is it's a slippery slope. If you find a way for Elon Musk to be giving us money, then who next? And purportedly, if you've listened to some people, the richest man in the world is Vladimir Putin. So he'd be next in line.
Let's say you're right. Was it OK for a multi-millionaire stroke billionaire in this country to give £5 million to the Labour Party and then get some very lucrative contracts for his green energy firms?
I've got my tinfoil hat under the table if you want that, Renee.
Well, that actually happened. That was Darwin. That happened.
I think there is a huge amount of double standards here. George Soros invests hundreds of thousands of pounds, but he does it through left-wing NGOs. So Best for Britain received £400,000 from American billionaire George Soros. So there is a loophole in this country where you can donate to NGOs. Led by Donkeys, another one, funded by someone who sat on a Middle Eastern oil company.
These are not political parties.
They are political organisations, so it's done through the back door. Well, that's fine. So you're saying
and how much money was this?
Well, let's just agree then. You think that Elon Musk should be able to donate to an NGO that supports the right wing in the UK?
No, I don't think there should be a loophole.
Disagree that George Soros
should be...
Yeah, sure. Oh, fair enough then.
Fair
enough. There we go. No foreign interference on the left. So maybe you'll be campaigning against Led by Donkeys and Best for Britain.
I doubt it.
Right, there we go. Debate over, guys.
What would Donald think about it?
Donald would say, let's give them the money, OK? They need some reform. We need Nigel Farage. We need him to bring back sanity to the UK. Everyone. Okay. Let's bring it back to the UK. Let's make Britain great again.
This show's just got better and better since we started getting Donald on for desk guest spots.
I was saying Trump. And Willie was saying, why do you keep saying Trump? Right, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we're hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day, they have a special message for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 7.
I'm Reverend Mike Milmine, and a very warm welcome to St Leonard's Church in Denton, where I'm priest in charge. The great bishop theologian St Augustine once asked himself what the most important virtue was in the Christian life. His answer? The first is humility. The second is humility. And the third, yes, you guessed it, is humility. Humility is not weakness. Humility is not becoming a doormat for others. Humility is the strength to willingly stoop. It's the strength to willingly say no to myself in order to lift others up. Humility, therefore, is a virtue that is right at the heart of the Christmas story. Perhaps over the season you'll sing along with me, He came down to earth from heaven, who is God and Lord of all, and His shelter was a stable, and His cradle was a stall. Do you see what that means? The eternal God, who is high over all, stoops to the lowest place in order to lift us to the heights of heaven. To follow the Christ of Christmas means to willingly take the lower place for the sake of those we love.
Lovely. Now, coming up in the bunch of five, would you marry your mother-in-law to avoid inheritance tax? And a viral star has started a crypto row online. I actually have no idea what that story is, so I look forward to finding out. You're with the Saturday Five. We're live on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Darragh continues to bring some very wet and very windy weather as we go through the rest of Saturday and into Sunday, with weather warnings still in force quite widely across the UK. Storm Darragh moves its way south and eastwards away from the UK, but that squeeze in the isobars across western areas still indicates those strong winds we're likely to see. Gusts here of 60, perhaps 70 miles an hour as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. And plenty of heavy rain across eastern parts of England too, and southern parts of Scotland could see that persistent rain into the early hours of Sunday morning. Quite a chilly night to come, though temperatures likely to stay above zero, but with that northerly breeze it will be a really chilly start to the day on Sunday, particularly where we see that cloud and rain persisting across eastern parts of the UK. So quite a cloudy and damp start to the day here, heavy and persistent rain as we go through the morning and into the afternoon, but across western parts of the UK, southwest parts of England, western parts of Wales, Northern Ireland as well, perhaps seeing a bit of a brighter start to the day, albeit with one or two showers in places. Western parts of Scotland seeing some bright skies through the morning as well, but in the east, plenty of showers still piling in from the north, these likely to turn to sleet and snow over any high ground. Those showers continue across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, but it's that heavy rain that we really need to keep an eye on across the southern and eastern parts of England, slowly pushing its way south and eastwards as we go through Sunday afternoon. It will still be a windy day quite widely across the UK, but those winds gradually starting to ease from the northwest as we go in towards the evening. And temperatures will still be around about average for the time of year, but definitely feeling chilly in that northerly breeze, particularly across the south and the east where we see that cloud and rain persisting. The cloud and rain gradually starts to ease across the southeast through Monday morning, so quite a chilly start, particularly across Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. Some frost in places with light winds here. But for most of us, it'll be turning a bit drier as we go through Monday. Still one or two showers across the southeast, but turning a bit drier, and that's a theme for the rest of the week. High pressure building, but that does mean the temperatures are on the downturn by the time we get to Wednesday.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A very warm welcome back to the Saturday 5. Thank you very much for your company. Paul has just messaged and he says, next time you speak to Darren, tell him I love the Saturday 5. Well, I'm speaking to you now. He also says, P.S. I'm on the wine. Paul, to deal with Kai, you need the wine. All right, we're going to cross now to Paris, where Notre-Dame... Oh, wow, look at that. That's beautiful. Incredible shot of Notre-Dame, refurbished, renewed and reinvigorated. And I think... Listen, let's just have a little listen. Wow. I mean, it is majestic. It really is.
Stunning.
Absolutely beautiful.
Marks and Spencers would knock that down.
Yeah.
That's Nicolas Sarkozy there.
Yeah.
François Hollande.
Where's Monsieur
I thought he was in jail. Didn't they get Sarkozy?
I think he's out now.
Out now. Oh.
Maybe he's on day release. Who knows?
Wow.
But world leaders from all over the place have shown up today. It's quite exceptional, including Prince William.
Yeah, the Prince of Wales is there.
Yeah.
Of course, Prince William.
Donald Trump
is there, who actually isn't yet the head of state of the United States
I think
of America.
Joe Biden sent his wife.
Right, Jill Biden is there. Yes, the First Lady of the United States of America.
I was going to say that she's running the country, but not even she's running the country anymore.
No. Well, what's interesting is that we haven't got an emissary there at the moment.
It's Joseph in his Technicolor dream coat sat up there.
But, you know, from all that big parade that Starmer and Macron went on not that long ago, to not then be invited, perhaps, to this, or have an ambassador there. I'm sure the ambassador is there in some...
You've got that costume, Kai.
Oh, I was wondering where that had got. Gosh.
All right, we'll leave the beauty and splendour of Notre Dame to the Parisians and the world leaders. We'll come back to the studio in London. Now, my friends, it's time for this. OK, someone says, on Lee Anderson's show, they have a lefty in the corner. We always need a Willie in the corner. We'll start with Willie.
Thank you, Darren. Darren actually just gave me a dressing down off air for this story. He doesn't think it's appropriate, so go on a journey with me, audience. Let me introduce you to Hayley Welsh, a.k.a. Hawk Tour Girl. Hayley Welsh has become something of an internet celebrity in the US after referring to a sex act in a viral clip. She's been referenced in the election campaign. She's now got an incredibly successful podcast. She is the 15 Minutes of Fame person of the moment. Her latest venture is setting up a meme coin, which is a cryptocurrency. What's effectively happened, somewhat unsurprisingly to anyone with a brain, is that it went up an extraordinary amount in value in a very short period of time before then crashing down, and many people now have said that they have lost their life savings for listening to Hawk Tour Girl. Yeah. My question to the panel is, should we have sympathy for these people for trying to get financial advice?
No.
From Hawk Tour.
This is what happens, right? When you listen to... And you're just going to put your money into some ridiculous thing like this gimmick, that this silly podcast... I mean, it's a terrible podcast. There's not an ounce of intellect on that panel whatsoever. And then she brings out this cryptocurrency... I think it went up to something like $100 million or something like that, and then plummeted 50%. People, I don't. 90%. I'm not saying I don't feel sorry for some of these people, because of course a lot of people have lost a lot of money. But for goodness' sake, don't be silly.
Yeah, you've got to take personal responsibility, haven't you? All right, Dr. Renee, what have you got?
OK, mine's really simple, actually. It's Christmas. We've got parties now. We're going to go to a party, aren't we? So I thought, what better than have someone count us down to that wonderful time when the lights turned on. So let's let Keir Starmer do it. He is our Prime Minister.
You please join me when I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! It worked. Nervous moment there.
Sorry, guys, I thought that was going to cheer us all up, but it's so boring I fell asleep. And what's brilliant about that, of course, is that he's just surprised that it worked. Nothing works in this country. Kai, did you enjoy it?
I have only seen that just now, and I must say it's quite funny, isn't it? It's not very festive. It's some might say it competes with Theresa May for the least festive moment outside of Downing Street.
Theresa May, though, did actually believe in Christ, for example, so she had that sort of fervour
Well, there was
and
no
respect
Merry
for
Christmas, was there? No Merry Christmas.
No.
I mean, Boris did it. I mean, Boris has got charisma at least, and Keir Starmer's got all the charisma of a drying puddle on a cloudy day.
I think that's being harsh.
Yeah, maybe being
harsh to puddles. Yeah. Yeah, right. OK, I'll go next then. American tourists, right? They all assume, don't they, that if you're English, you must know the Queen. They all assume that if you're in England, you can bump in to His Majesty the King. Well, this lot actually did.
On the street.
No, thank you so much.
Are you all trying to go somewhere else today, are you? You're
No,
not getting too
thank-
wet, I hope. No. Are you all living round here?
Yeah.
No, we live in Texas.
In Texas.
Texas?
Yes. From Japan.
I don't believe it. Are you having an enjoyable time in London?
Very much.
Anyway, I do hope you make the most of it.
Thank you so much.
Have a very happy Christmas.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
Now, all I can say to that is thank God that we have, in contrast with what Renee's just shown us, we have a head of state in His Majesty the King that can actually, I think, unite us all in love and admiration for that act. It's a simple act, but it's heartwarming.
Yeah, I mean, what a lovely, lovely thing to do. Not only for him to get out and speak to people, which I think is so great for a head of state, especially someone like the King to go and do. It's clearly not a very nice day either. And then to wish them all Merry Christmas as well, isn't that
Helen
great?
says, come on, Darren, show the one of Keir Starmer that you posted on Facebook. I don't think I can show that one.
Yeah, and Ofcom will be through the door.
Yeah. Alex, what have you got? Don't say that video.
No, thankfully. Well, this is a bit of a bonkers one. A man is planning to divorce his wife and marry his mother-in-law, his wife's mother, to inherit her estate tax-free. And it begs the question, with this terrible, horrendous budget, what lengths will people go to avoid these new ridiculous amounts of taxes that the government are putting on people? So I want to ask the panel, if they have a mother-in-law, and if they did, would they marry her?
This is national television, isn't it?
Married, right?
I was married and I got divorced, and I was actually just thinking, oh, maybe it would have been better than the marriage.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, you have to do whatever you can
have to do what you have
in
to
this
do.
economy under your lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of you, what have you got?
Well, yes, the assorted bigots and idiots are all angry again about what they always are, a casting choice. So Papa Esidiu, a black actor, has been cast as Severus Snape in the Harry Potter television adaptation to come out next year. Now, I don't know how people can take this so seriously. Harry Potter is not a serious book. There's a teacher that turns into a cat. There's a half-giant that flies on a motorbike. But I think what's even worse is, you know, they're angry about nothing. The Harry Potter books are full of racial caricatures. That's what is the real scandal in Harry Potter. Who could forget Cho Chang? Who can forget the Indian twins?
What's wrong with Cho Chang?
No, it's the ridiculous names. So actually, I think this is a great new form
I know
of.
someone called Jack Jones. Is that ridiculous name?
We should make an all-black version of Harry Potter and call it Rowling Reparations. And see how people like that.
I decided, Kai, that I really was a bit ambivalent about this, and he's a very handsome man. I can look at him for a while.
Handsome.
Very handsome. But I thought I'll ask someone who cares about Harry Potter, my 6-year-old, and she said no. That would be wrong,
No,
Mummy.
it's wrong. Just leave it alone. Leave alone her vision, and she is a very good woman. How dare you smear the name of one of the greatest authors in this
Darren,
country?
I actually have to go in on J.K. Rowling slightly here because she is on this show and she does get creative decisions, so she would have allowed it.
I mean, listen, she is a lefty. Anyway, still ahead. We answer all of your questions in Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. You're with the Saturday Five. We're live on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles.
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the second largest ocean in the world. And the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the 2 of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer Trust supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions, and we stood there at my porch and went, Rowan said, I reckon we could do that. And I was like, yeah, I reckon we could. And then we brought Harry on board, and that's kind of how it all came together.
If people are watching and they want to support you, do you have a
Yeah, we've
GoFundMe
got
page
social
yet?
media platforms at
Right.
the Free Flying Fish. That's Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our GoFundMe links in all of the bios on there.
Fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. We're going to cross now to Paris, where, of course, Emmanuel Macron has a host of world leaders to reopen Notre-Dame after that really horrific fire that took place 5 years ago. It is a feat of great skill and determination that they've managed to actually reopen it now. And as Martin, one of our viewers, points out, it was a British expert, Mike Dennis, that was instrumental in the rebuilding process of this great national icon of France.
Yeah, that was a lovely story in the Telegraph today.
It was, it really was. And
stunning.
Well done for pointing it out, Martin. It is absolutely glorious. And it's so wonderful that they've got Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat in performance there for this. The Catholics do know how to dress, don't they? They really do.
Especially men.
No comment.
All right, OK. Well, go now to, well, your questions about, because now it's time for this. I think I was having a stroke. Let's see what I shouldn't joke about that. Let's see what you've got for us this week. Mary says, is that Mary or
Mary?
Mary.
Mari.
Mari said, I apologise if we've just butchered your name. Ask the Five, would you vote Conservative to avoid a hung Parliament and Labour getting in for another 5 years? Will?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, if it was only a binary choice between Labour and Tories, yes.
Labour all the way. I'd vote Labour.
But I would do it resentfully. Let's make that really clear.
Yeah.
resentfully. Very resentfully.
And that's, you know,
But
that
that
gets
wasn't
into
the question, though.
anti-democratic
It's to avoid a
nature
hung
of our
parliament.
system, doesn't it, really? Right, Amanda says, in your opinion, what's the funniest word in the English language?
Darren Grimes.
Is it in the dictionary? I wonder what it says there.
It's made it.
Onomatopoeia.
Oh, that's such a cop-out. You just come to the first thing that's... That's the funniest.
I like the word sniffles.
Sniffles?
Sniffles. I don't know,
I've got the
guys.
sniffles
What about
today.
Willy?
Yeah, Willy.
Yeah,
I thought that was your favourite, Darren.
What's your favourite?
I don't know. I think Miranda Hart was quite good with this in that show that she did. Plinth.
Plinth.
Just for the fun sound, you know.
You'll have a plinth of Sir Keir Starmer in your house. Absolute
And
insanity. And Sadiq Khan. Right. And Alistair says, if the government is not listening to the population, why should the population continue paying taxes? Well, Will, you're a libertarian.
Yeah, I think taxes are evil. I don't think we should be paying taxes full stop.
Any?
That's maybe a tad.
Libertarians always have very, very weak limits.
We need a bit of money to fund the military, but other than that...
We'd have a proper black hole if you were in charge.
No, yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with Alan. It's a really interesting question. Surely the only way we have of expressing our anger with people right now is to stop paying taxes. Was it Alistair? I'm sorry, Alistair.
Alistair, I think actually there is a real problem with the ballot box because people keep voting for change. 2010, 2015, 2017 and 2019. You voted for change and your vote was betrayed on each of those occasions.
Yep.
So the anger and resentment against democracy is palpable, and that should worry anyone that believes in the democratic system. Alex?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you, Darren. I think the reality is taxes are too high in general. But look, you can't stop paying taxes. It's illegal. It doesn't matter. You haven't got a choice. You have to pay your taxes. And I'd also say,
but should you ever take a stand? I guess.
Well, I don't want to advise people to
get
prison, frankly. So I say yes, pay your taxes.
Hello,
but hopefully there will be a time when there's a government that you support, and there'll be people that won't want to do that, and I wouldn't want.
All right, Kai.
But pay your taxes, and trust me, 5 years you'll be feeling differently. Things will be better.
Feeling worse. Yeah.
All right. Let's make Kai pay for the migrants. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Darragh continues to bring some very wet and very windy weather as we go through the rest of